Yeah, so there's some barbaric passages in the Old Testament, right? So you always read the Old Testament in light of the New. Always. So in other words, it's a little different than some other religions where you can't really tell what's being said because it's dependent upon what time it's being written. In the Scriptures, you can. Everything is superseded by the words of Jesus. Everything. You have heard that it was said, it's wrong to commit adultery. Who said that? God said that to Moses, right? Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou, Moses, shalt not commit adultery. Thou, John, thou, whoever everybody is, right? That's God saying that. All of a sudden, here comes Jesus saying, you've heard it was said this, I tell you. It's wrong for you to look lustfully at a woman or at a man. You've heard that you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. I tell you, love your enemy. Pray for those who persecute you. So while we want to be able to give some, get into an intelligent discussion about the passages of the Old Testament, quite honestly, we would simply say, but none of that holds for us when you're talking about those things, which seem to or do call for violence, because the Lord never calls for that. Put your sword in its sheath. He who lives by the sword dies by the sword.
So would you say like the two Bible passages are in conflict with each other? Or?
No, they're not in conflict. One is imperfect, heading towards the perfection, which is Jesus. God is gradually teaching his people. So you want to know, like, why didn't he just teach him from the beginning? Because that's not a great story. Because a story that begins once upon a time, there was a prince and a princess and they lived happily ever after is a really boring, dull story. No one reads it and no one goes to the movie. And God writes dramas. And the dramas become more violent because of the arrival of sin, which God never intended, and which he's done something about in the person of Jesus. It's a great question, but we would always start by saying, you're right, that's a great passage, whatever. But understand that was at a particular time, to a particular culture, which holds no truth for us now. Not because we condemn it, but because it's been perfected in Jesus.